What's up, guys? I'm BTC. I got a bunch of stuff for you today. A new PTR patch, some nice changes to Mei's snowball fight, and also a brand new exploit with Mei's Ice Wall. So we're going to start with that. I know that there's a possible chance Blizzard will see this video and hopefully it will get fixed. Now, normally they don't like having this sort of stuff get shared because they don't want people using it. But the fact of the matter is, with this particular one, there's just as good of a chance that it will accidentally happen to a player as it will on purpose. And that is just by the very nature of how it works. It's not like someone throwing a Sombra translocator out of the map and then, going out there and then switching to Torb and putting up a turret. This is a lot easier, more accidental to happen. Here's how it works. If Mei puts her ice wall on any moving environmental object, whether it's a door, a platform, or even the payload, then any player that is on top of the wall when it gets destroyed will have their physics broken. And the best way to explain this is it kind of puts the player at like a weird angle. So imagine that rather than going up and down, the character is now kind of tilted, right? So when you're moving in one direction and you jump, it's going to do these really, really small little hops because the game is actually trying to push you into the ground because that's how the character is now angled. And for the other side, depending on how big of a thing this is, you can actually go very, very high into the air. It's kind of like you're just floating around in the low grav area on Horizon Lunar Colony. Now, some people have tried to claim that this is a big exploit and people can use it to give them an advantage. I don't really think so because, first of all, you have very, very little control of your character when you're floating around up there. And also, you move really, really slow. So it's very easy to take someone out of the air like this. It's not like you move even kind of more floatier than Farah does. So it's not really super all that good to use kind of like intentionally. But the reason why I wanted to show you this is because, again, it happens with the payload. So if you're on the payload and there's an enemy Mei, or even a friendly Mei, who puts an ice wall there and it breaks, then all of a sudden your physics for your character are broken. I did a little bit of testing with this. Going back to the spawn room and changing heroes does not remove this effect. It's still going to be broken. However, if your character ends up actually getting taken out and then you respawn, your controls do seem to get reverted back to normal. So if this happens to you, then that's how you fix it. And again, I realize that there are going to be people that try to use this for an advantage. I really don't see it. Like, yeah, okay, you can float in the air, but it's so easy to hit them when they're up there. Really, it is. I don't see it as being all that much of an advantage. Hopefully Blizzard will fix this because, again, I can see this happening quite often as just an accident. Moving on to some good stuff, and I do hope the Overwatch devs end up getting to hear this at some point. The new snowball fight is way, way better than the old version. The new version has a bunch of changes, new mechanics, so now you can hold 3 snowballs instead of just 1. You can catch them when the enemies launch them at you, and then you can use them to return the attack as well, which is pretty cool. And also, it's just way faster pace because you respawn very quickly, and it's not like the old 6v6, which still uses all the old mechanics. I don't know why they didn't update it, but the old one, which you can still play, it's 6v6, you can only carry 1 snowball, you can't catch them, and once you get taken out, you have to wait until the end of the round. So if you're the first one that gets taken out, you're basically just sitting there doing nothing for like the next minute or so. It's not very exciting. So the new version is much faster pace, it's just so much better, and I'm glad they changed it. And this kind of brings up the point that I've talked about in the past about these seasonal events. I realize that Blizzard is not able to spend the time and the manpower, because they're just a small indie dev company, on redoing these entire events every single year. I mean, if they did, then we wouldn't get anything else. So it makes sense, I understand that. But you can make small changes and improvements that just greatly increase the enjoyment of these events. For the Yeti game mode, they could have added another creature to go after, like maybe a Hammond or something, right? Like a giant Hammond. That would have been funny. Or you could have someone to help out Mei who has different abilities. For Junkenstein, they can add just, one new boss or something like that, or maybe just play different heroes instead of just locking it to the ones that we currently have. There's all kinds of different little things that you can do in order to improve the events. And again, it doesn't have to be something entirely brand new, just always try to improvement. I don't think that you should get the same event every year after year after year after year. I mean, that's what we've had with Lucio Ball, right? It's the same thing. I mean, yeah, you add a new map, but I mean, come on, right? Like, add some more functions to it, add a new player. But you could throw Doomfist in there or something, right? Just to kind of change it up. I mean, there's all kinds of things. That's what I'm saying. Like, the new Snowball fight is way better than the old one, and it probably didn't take you guys a whole lot of effort in order to make those changes, right? I'm not saying it took 5 minutes, but probably wasn't all that, time consuming. So just keep making the small changes to the events. Moving on, there was also a patch on the PTR. This doesn't have any balance changes. It did have a whole bunch of bug fixes and also some improvements to the camera during spectate and replay updates. It also introduced something called the Party Flex for Role Queue. And I'll read it to you quickly. It says, unsure of which role you want to play, now party members who queue for any game mode with role queue enabled can now select multiple roles, indicating what they're willing to play in the next game. Your other party members' role choices and competitive play skill ratings may affect which roles you are eligible to choose or which role you can play. For example, if you selected all 3 roles to indicate your willingness to play any of them, then if other 2 players choose support, you won't be able to choose support in the next game. Essentially, it's just making it so that when you're grouped up and you're using the role queue system, it just makes it a little bit easier so that you can change what role you're going to be playing in the next game. That's it. It's not anything super amazing. It's not like you can change during the match or anything like that, because I know some people have been asking for that. But really, I just don't think that would work. I mean, you could maybe do that, like have a role switch mid-match, but you could only do that if the SR for both players was very close together. But then, you run into the issue of, well, okay, so you have someone who has, whatever, let's say 3,500 on their support, and they're only 2,500 on their DPS. If you switch in the mid-match, suddenly you now have a 3,500 as your support. So I think it would only work if both of the roles were at the same. So you would have to have about 2,500 for your support and for your DPS before it would even enable it. And the thing is, it would have to be very, very close either, because it would just be way too easy to abuse it. So I think it's a little too restrictive. In order for it to actually work, it would probably have to be way restrictive, like within 100 SR or something like that. And it just, I don't know, it just don't really see it working all that well. I mean, it's nice because, yeah, sometimes, someone who's playing DPS or something, they're just having a hard time, they can't do anything right or whatever, and they want to switch off to tank or something. I've seen that happen, and I've seen matches get won because of that. Like, someone's just not doing good, and they're like, all right, let me go take another role, someone else take this. But yeah, I don't know. It just, I think with the role queue system, it would be way too difficult. But anyways, so this new Party Flex is just going to make that a little bit easier, but it's before the match starts. That's about all I have for you today. If you have that Mei Wall issue, then I suggest you just allow yourself to get eliminated as soon as you can. I mean, don't do it right in the middle of the fight, but if you end up winning the fight, then you find a ledge or something and just take a quick hop off, so that way you can get control of your character again. But I wouldn't recommend doing it in competitive on purpose, because you probably will get reported and probably get banned. If you want to mess around with it, go into a custom match where nobody is going to care. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Also, come hang out in my Discord server and my Twitch live stream. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see what kind of cool VIP rewards you can get, check the links down below. And remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault.